find the ones that don't give you any grief, but the ones that can't start. Where are you going, mate? Where are you going? He wants to jump. Come back. Okay, we've got a few giveaways. So these guys are from Beshti. It's an organization down near Split who do a wonderful job with dogs and cats. As you can see, this guy wants to get off stage. So we have 3 prizes to give away. You have to guess what his name is. Can anyone guess his name? Just shout it out. It's a Croatian name. Huh? Who said that? What did you say? Not Flocky, you're close. It begins with G. Ivanišević. Goran, short for Goran. Gogi, whoever said Gogi, there's one for you. Here, take Gogi. Well done, you won a dog. You won a dog. And now we have this other 4-legged friend, a cat. The name is themed, okay? Give me a name for a cat that's themed. Think about what a cat has. What does a cat have? In English, this is an English name. Huh? Good. Make a female name out of it. Claudia, yes. Over here to Juan, I think it is. Yes? Excellent. Okay, another one. Last question. Beshti is located in which town in Croatia? It's the best town in Croatia? Not Split. No, not Zadar. It begins with K. Not best town in Croatia, not Zagreb. Begins with K. There's 7 of them. Kaštela, yes, this guy knows. Round of applause. Guys, if you ever, the next pitch is called, it's not the pitch yet. The next talk is called Sell, 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 Build. One thing that you never do with animals is buy, 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 buy. We have plenty of dogs and cats available in Croatia. If you do want one, come and find Zvone. He's out there. Meet the dogs. If you have a nice home for them, then maybe you can adopt them. Thank you guys for coming on stage with me. And let's keep the hype up. You've met him twice already today. He still has energy. Let's welcome back to the stage Stjepan Zelić, Stipe, CEO at Hyperpie for Sell, 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 Build.
Build, yeah. Nice job. Sell, 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 build. All right. Okay, I was too loud. Okay, I need to be quieter. I have a fun question for the beginning of this keynote. Who here likes getting slapped? Michael, you like getting slapped, don't you? You dirty dog. You dirty dog. Gogi is a clear... Okay, I'm not going to make those jokes. We'll come back to this later. Who here has ever gotten called by a telemarketer and I want to see some hands? And it's going to be a lot of hands. And it's the worst, right? It's awful. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't feel good because it sounds like this. Hey, Stjepan, my name is Rafael, and I'm calling from the awesome company. We make the best product in the world, and if you give me just a couple of minutes, I'd like to tell you more about it. Just for, this call is getting recorded, so toot, toot, toot. It's dead. It's done. I don't want to listen to that shit. It's part of my French. But it's not nice to get something in your ear like that immediately. And let me tell you something. Sales in B2B tech isn't much different than this. And I want to show you screenshots from my LinkedIn where people did this. Like before they know who I am, before I know who they are, before they even said hi, they said, I want to sell you something, I want to sell you something, I want to sell you something. That's called pitch slapping. It's like slapping somebody with a pitch the first second you meet them. And this is what startup founders usually do when they're young and inexperienced. They want to pitch their startup to everyone, but nobody wants to listen to a 10-minute pitch on a company they know nothing about from the first second they met you. You first have to start talking to people. And it's the same in sales. You can't just pitch somebody right in the face. You have to talk to them. This does not work. So pitch slapping doesn't work. Please don't do it. That's the same thing that telemarketers do when they call you. Please, if you ever have the idea of pitching somebody something in the first second, try to avoid it, and trust me, it's going to work. But, okay, pitch slapping isn't sales. Then what is sales? If we're so used to pitch slapping on the phone and we consider that sales, what is actually sales? Well, I showed this meme to a bunch of my developer friends, and they laughed. And it is usually a bit like this. ID is not that nicely dressed. Sales is always, perfect. But it doesn't actually have to look like this. I worked in sales, and all I wear is this polo shirt with Hypify on it. It doesn't have to be like this. But now I have another question. I want to find out how many of you in the audience ever sold a product or service. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4. We have people that sold a product or service to a customer. That's fun. And now I want to tell you a story about when 11 years ago, I worked as a waiter in Vodice. That's a nearby town. I worked at Hookah Bar. Some of you may have been to the Hookah Bar, but I hope not, especially not back in 2014 when I worked there. And what happened was, and this is a real-life scenario, this actually happened. 5 girls sat at a table, so I went there to wait on them. And the first thing I said is, hey, what's up? What would you like to have? And they all ordered different coffee. And waiters don't like that. By the way, for context, this is a beach bar, and this is right before the after beach party where there's a DJ, cocktails, everything's burning, and they order 5 different coffees. So I don't like that. I don't want that. So what I could have said, like drinking coffee at a beach bar right before the beach party, that's boring, but I don't think that would have worked nicely. I could also have pitch slapped them right in the face about the new cocktails that we have. I didn't do that because that wouldn't have worked. What I did was, I asked them, is this your first time here? And they said, no, we were here a couple of times last year. So I said, so you know about the parties, right, that happen every day at 6 p.m.? They said, yeah, we love the parties. Then I said, I love them too, at least when I come here as a guest, right? So you came here to party, right? And I said, yeah. And I said, with 5 coffees? And I said, yeah. And I said, come on, isn't partying a bit easier with 5 cocktails? And they agree with me, like, yeah, I guess so. So I said, okay, why don't I get you 5 cocktails, but let me surprise you with the cocktails. How does that sound? And they loved it. They said, sure. So the next step, what I did is I went to the barista and I said, hey man, just give me 5 cocktails. He asked which ones. I don't care any, but just don't make them all the same. So what happened in the end is the result was I was happy because I didn't have to remember anything. 5 different coffees, 5 different cocktails. They were happy because they got hyped up for the party. Bartender was happy because he likes making cocktails more than coffees, at least at 6 p.m. And the beach bar was happy because they earned more money. And now I think it's time for me to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Stjepan. I'm the CEO of Hypify. And even though I studied math and computer science, now I'm talking to you about sales. And why am I talking to you about sales? Is because I've been selling stuff on and off for 10 years now. I worked as a waiter, which, as we saw, includes selling. I worked at Telco 1. I worked as an Apple promoter once. I worked at Telco 2. I worked as a Samsung promoter. Believe it or not, I worked at Telco 3. I worked as a pub crawl guy, which was a super fun job. And I worked at Telco 4 as well. I worked at a lot of telcos. So I learned a thing or two about sales. So what's the morale of this story? Is it don't order coffees at a beach bar? Well, sure it is if it's 6 p.m. and it's a beach bar. But the real morale of this story was all of those were sales jobs, including being a waiter. Because what is sales, at least from my perspective, it's also telling the boys about the next trip idea exactly one day after you come back from the airport, because you also can sell an idea to your friends. But I think it's the subtle art of finding out what someone wants and making them realize you can help them get it, and ideally, you both get something out of it. Like in the earlier example, and by the way, no pitch slapping, that's not sales, avoid that. In the earlier example, I didn't felt like remembering 5 different coffees. And don't get me wrong, back in my heyday, I could remember 20 different orders. But the thing with coffees is I don't like remembering them. The baristas or bartenders don't like making them. I don't like carrying coffees. I don't like getting a small tip on a small order, which is coffees. So what I did was I tried to switch that story over so I can benefit as well. But as soon as I made the story about the party and I got them hyped up about the party, the topic of the coffees versus cocktails wasn't as important anymore. What was important was their feeling they came here to party and they want the hype. So I sold that to them. I didn't sell them cocktails. I sold the feeling of hype and getting up for the beach party that's happening right now. And when I said I would surprise them, that was also laziness. I'm lazy as fuck, and I've been lazy my whole life. And I think lazy founders make for good startups. But also, I wanted to have a bit of fun with them as well. I didn't want to remember 5 coffees, but I didn't want to remember just 5 cocktails either, which is much easier. But how do I know all of this? All of what I just told you. How do I know that? It's because also, with all of those jobs, in the last 4 years, I scaled Hypify to 1.4 million annual repeating revenue, not recurring, but I can talk about that later, by selling, building, fundraising, which is also a form of sales, and teaching people how to sell. And of course, a bunch of other stuff as well, like a kindergarten teacher or a cleaning man. I was a cleaning man. I did everything in the startup. Whatever you can imagine, I did that. And now I'm going to talk to you about why and how to sell, build. Okay. If you want to build a VC-funded startup from scratch, then this might work for you. This doesn't necessarily work for everyone, and if you're bootstrapping a company, maybe your path is going to be different. But if you're trying to build exactly this, then try to remember just at least one of these lessons. So, what should be your step 1 if you're a startup founder? My opinion is that you have to sell. First to friends and family, and please, for the love of God, don't hide your idea thinking that somebody's going to steal it. I had a guy that I know that said to me, look, I want to pitch an idea to investors. Can you help me? And I said, yeah, sure. What's the idea? And he says, I want you to sign an NDA before I tell you my idea. Look, nobody's going to steal your idea. Even if they know that the idea is going to work well, they don't have the will to build it. Like, if it's your idea, you're the only one that can build it because it takes a lot of hard work. It's not a hack. And why is this also important? It's to get honest feedback. But when you get honest feedback, try to avoid fake praise. Because fake praise is not good. It takes you in a wrong direction. It's just like when you're singing just a bit above average, and I'm sure you know a person that sings a bit above average, but not world class. But everyone around them tells them, you sing amazingly, it's great, you should apply, you should go somewhere. Because they feel bad about giving them a 7 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. If you ask for feedback, ask for honest feedback, because otherwise you're going to end up at a talent show being shut down because you're just above average. The consequence of this is that you'll think about your idea more, you'll argue about your idea with friends and family, which means you'll understand it better and evolve it with the feedback that you get. And that's super important as the first step. Step 2 would be to sell the idea to potential customers. Not selling the product or the service, but sell the idea. Talk to people in the industry that might potentially use your product down the line. The reason for this is you have to find out what they want. And oftentimes founders worked in that industry for some time, so they understand the pain points. But if you're like me, who didn't work in the marketing industry, who didn't work in the influencer marketing industry, I had to find out what the pain points are. So I had to speak to potential customers, to prospects. And when I found out what they wanted, that gave me an idea on what to build, right? And it's both easy and hard at the same time. It's easy because you just have to ask, nothing else. Almost everyone out there, including me, wants to be heard, wants their opinion to be heard, but you just gotta be a bit charming about it. That's the hard part, but that's also relatively easy to learn. And if you get some interest from those potential prospects, then you know you have a chance. And again, ask for honest feedback. If somebody tells you, hey, it's a fun product, I don't know, ask them, would you buy this tomorrow or not? Would you pay $500 for it? Would you pay $1,000? The feedback that you get will help you with the direction you build in. Step 3 is if you have interest, if you have a solid plan, and you want to be a VC-funded startup, you should try to sell the idea to potential investors. Now, this might not necessarily be the path. Some startups started selling before they went to investors, some didn't. But you have to try and sell the idea to potential investors to see if this is a fundable business and if this business can explode and grow. And you have to sell them on the idea of your startup, because investors aren't charity. They aren't looking for sad stories or young, energetic people wanting to make their dreams come true. They are here to make money. And the way they make money is they pay you, or not you, but the company, for a piece of that company, which 5-10 years later on, they're going to sell for a much higher price. They're here just to make money. So the way to sell to potential investors is to make them already smell the money that's going to come out of you and your company and your success. That's what Hypify successfully did in a couple of rounds. The last round was $1.75 million. We're going for the next round, which is going to be much bigger soon, but I'm not going to say too much about it. But the reason we were able to do that is that we showed that our idea can grow to global levels, that we're the ones able to do it, and that all our investors will make money on this. Step 4. Step 4 is, let's say you got some money from some VC funds, and you have some money to play around with. That's what happened to us. Then you need to sell to potential employees, ideally your friends. And I know opinions are polarized on this topic, whether to hire your friends or not. I did. But this time, sell them the company potential. Don't sell them the work hours, what they're going to be doing, but sell them the idea of how big your company can be and what they can become in that company, because you can't do everything alone. My first move was hiring a couple of friends to help me build Hypify. And I hired out of my friend pool. I haven't regretted it once so far. I did think about, do I regret hiring this person? But then I realized so many good things came out of them being friends, about them being loyal, about them working harder, about us getting along better, that I just concluded I didn't regret it ever so far. And I have like 10 friends in the company. It's nepotism, hashtag, it's crazy. Like I have girlfriends of friends there. I had a couple there who are both my friends. Anyway, that works nicely if you have good friends and family. But enough about this. Let's skip to step 5. Step 5 is, once you got the money, once you got the people, once you got the interest from potential prospects, is to sell to actual customers. And again, this can be, the order can be a bit different. Don't take my word for this. But you have to try to sell to an actual customer and start bringing cash, because the feeling and the hype that you get when you sell for the first time with your company, getting first revenue, it's fucking incredible. It feels like this. Feels like suddenly you're lying on heaps of money and it was your mom that bought the product that you're selling. This feels amazing, and that's where you get, like when you sell it for the first time. When I did it, I was like, super hyped about like 500 euros worth of services that I sold. Now we're in the millions, and I don't bat an eye at 20K campaigns. But it feels amazing, and that gives you motivation to build on. Step number 6 is then to sell like crazy to many more customers, and while you're selling, to listen to their questions. And by the way, if you sell to a lot of customers, when you ask the questions, try to focus on the ones that say no. Why is that? It's because why they don't want to buy your product is much more important than why they do want to buy from you. Let's say I speak to 20 people or 100 people, and 20 of them want to buy my product, Pareto principle, 80 don't want to buy my product. Why should I focus on the 20 that already want in, whose use case I got covered? What I need to find out is what's missing from the product in order to find out what to build next. And in this, you have to be persistent. And now I'm going to show you a fun little screenshot that my friend Antonio, who's here somewhere, there is, that he got as a reply from his customer. Check this out. This is the creation up there. Antonio, hello. After several dozen attempts on your part, we can say that at this stage, we are ready for a meeting about potential cooperation. This is the point about being persistent. Like, I would never reach out to somebody 20, 30 times. I think that's a bit over the board, Antonio. But that's sales. Like, I told this guy if his startup doesn't work and it's working, that I'm going to hire him in sales in Hyperfy right away. But the point is, don't take the first no or the first maybe as an answer. Try to be just a bit more persistent, and many doors will open up to you. Disclaimer, I know I mentioned this, but you can build your MVP wherever you want in this process. I'm not saying that you should sell without anything. I'm saying we did. I'm saying it's possible. But you can build an MVP wherever you want. What's important is that you don't build the whole damn thing. Building an MVP is fine. But if you try to build the whole thing without listening to the market, that's not going to work nicely. And now we come to step number 7, which is, as you may have guessed out of the title of this keynote, is build. Based on everything you learned, build. Fix what's missing instead of adding what's not needed. The reason why you should ask questions to your potential customers, and especially the ones that don't want your service, is to find the actual pain points in the market. Find out what they need in order for you to expand your service to cover them. And I have a good example. Like in Hyperfy, we have like a content management system where brands like McDonald's, Philips, Nivea, they get content from influencers or from content creators, and they have the option to change it, to make comments on it. They have the option to approve it. And my co-founder, Philip, didn't want to build this feature at all. His idea was, let's disable that completely. Let's just let content creators do whatever the hell they want. And let's sell that to our customers. But what I got from my first X sales calls is that we need this. We need it. It's not brand managers who want the content management system. It's their bosses. It's the safety. It's the brand safety team. It's the legal team, right? So they actually need it. And by asking my customers a question, I decided that we should build that thing. And it works, and our customers love it. And that's why, as a founder, it's super important that you are in the trenches, that you are selling on the front lines to help you understand the market better. Nobody will be able to tell you how the market behaves if you don't feel it as a founder of the company. You have to know what's happening. I still take sales calls. I still do them just to understand what's happening, because we cover a lot of the region, but we started pushing out of the Europe, right? So what I realized is culture may not be the same. These people over there might have different needs than the ones here. So you have to be inside. You have to be like Antonio, be persistent, and always be closing. Because without this, there are 2 mistakes that founders do, which they should avoid at all costs. The first one is over-designing. The second one is solving for every problem in the market. Over-designing looks like this. This is a nice comic by Brady Bonus. You can follow him. I think it's X or Twitter. The difference between what you imagine at kickoff and what you want to build, this shiny rocket with a bunch of features, with a supersonic antenna, with nickel-plated rivets, and then when you start building it, you realize you can't build it all, so you settle for a smaller rocket with just 2 fins, with no custom artwork. But what your customers or users needed was a bike and a ramp, because they didn't want to get to the moon. They wanted to jump half a meter, 1 meter. So what happens, this is UI, UX, designer paradox, but this applies to startup founders as well. If you're building for something that the market doesn't need, and if you over-design it to be super specific, it won't work. Nobody's going to buy it. The second thing is solving for every problem in the market. I know people who carry knives, small pocket knives with them everywhere they go, or in their backpacks. And I know that none of them would ever buy this. Like, imagine you're a guy that just needs a knife and the scissors, but you don't need the saw tool, you don't need the pliers, you don't need any of the other shit. Like, you're never going to buy this knife, because even though it covers what you need, it covers everything else, and it's too complex for you to use. This happens sometimes with products that become too complex, that start serving everyone, everywhere, all at once. And that's why I run Hypify with the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, don't cover for everything. Just solve the pain point that you can solve for your customers. And after these first 7 steps, you have a working company. Hopefully, you have sales going on. You have money in the bank account. You are hiring more people. What you should do next is sell, learn, build, repeat. And this is a cycle. This is a cycle that we go through still. We sell, I sell, we learn. My sales guys tell me about stories they've heard from different markets. I learn about those, either say yes or no, we put it on a roadmap, we build it, then we repeat. Because the product is never finished, or at least from our perspective, it's that Hypify is never going to be finished because we're always going to be able to make it better, make it shinier, make it faster. And I want to share with you my biggest regret since starting Hypify, and it's simple. My biggest regret wasn't hiring, wasn't how I managed people, wasn't anything, but I didn't sell more. That's my biggest regret. Because in the beginning, I know I could have done that, but I handled different things. Like if I sold more at the beginning, I would have known the stuff that I learned later. I would have known it faster. I would have understood the market faster. I would have had more money to build stuff. Like, that's why you need to sell. And founders, especially who are technical, need to learn at least some best practices about sales. You don't have to be the best salesman in the world, but you have to learn how to talk to people. And that's how you'll sell your first sale. There are a bunch of people who like being early supporters. That's what happened to us. We found early supporters, early adopters, and that made us grow more. And let me back this up with actual Hypify history. This is going to be fun. Version 1 of Hypify was literally nothing. It was blank. We didn't have anything. We just had the idea. And we sold to investors with this idea. Version 2 was also nothing. We didn't have UI. We did have an influencer matching algorithm in the back end, but we had no UI. We just had a web page, nothing to click on. But we had a PowerPoint presentation, which I used to sell to people. They didn't need to see anything. I promised them performance, and we delivered performance. So I started selling before we built the goddamn thing. In version 3, we managed to build something. We scraped some money for some developers. We hired a design student. He was a student. We paid him like 500 euros to design this awful, awful looking platform. He was young. We were young. It looked like this. And now I want to vomit when I see it because it looks bad. But we used this to sell even then. We sold with this. We were super proud of this at that moment. And then came version 4. We upgraded everything. We redesigned the platform. We hired professional designers, not 500 euro students. And we designed it to look nice, to look sleek. Customers loved it. They wanted to use it more as opposed to the green and purple one. Then we developed mobile apps as well for the influencer part, which is why I'm still calling it version 4. Mobile apps looked amazing. They are snappy, quick to use, looks incredible. And now we're preparing for a version 5 that will look like a true agentic builder of influencer marketing campaigns. But my point is, don't start with this. Don't start with this. Start with nothing. And that's how you're going to find out how to sell. And now I think we have a couple more minutes for questions. If you have any, I'll be happy to answer them. One question here.
There we go, it's working now. I'll give you one question. That's all you're getting today.
One question, okay.
Are there any resources that you would recommend, like maybe some books or whatever, courses? Or I know you mentioned that you teach people, or at least taught people how to do sales. Do you still do that, or?
Yeah, within the company, yeah, I train new sales employees. Right. But the first resource I can recommend is Common Sense. And to use it, don't try to pretend you're a sales. Just use Common Sense. That works most of the time. But I never had any official knowledge. Like, I didn't read any sales books. I just worked all of these jobs. Be a waiter, be a telco 1, be a telco 2, be a telco 3. But I think simple videos, like simple first intros into sales, if you apply Common Sense to them, you can't go wrong.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you all very much for listening to this keynote.